Hey everyone, we're gonna get started in a second. I'm just doing a sound check. Can you hear me? Okay, awesome. So it's 10 o'clock Pacific, so we'll go ahead and get started. So welcome everyone. This is our overview of Starkiller. Just real quick, we kind of have this at the start, just legal stuff. This stuff's only for research, and when you have permission, don't do anything bad with it. Just a quick, who am I? I'm Hubble. I'm the CEO for BC Security. Been doing some red team stuff for a while. Taught a workshop at DEF CON, and I'm currently focused on embedded system stuff. I'll pass it over to Coin to introduce himself.
Anthony Rose, I go by Coin. I'm the COO. My background's electrical engineering. I'm a huge lock-picking hobbyist. Done a couple DEF CON talks and workshops about that stuff. Really just a big focus on wireless security and embedded systems. But obviously Empire has been our pet project for the last little while. And over to you, Vin.
My name is Vince. I am the creator of Starkiller. I'm part of the team for BC Security, focusing on Empire and Starkiller more from the software perspective and keeping the Git repository managed, and that's about it.
Okay, cool. So just a quick overview for Empire in case anyone's not aware of what it is. It's a post-exploitation framework built around PowerShell. It's also got some Python modules in there. It's got it's a fairly flexible tool, which makes it really useful with an encrypted C2 channel. This PowerShell has been around for a while. A lot of people kind of think it's dead, but it's still installed by default in Windows. And admins typically still leave it enabled on network, and it's still heavily used by adversaries today, which is why we picked up the project and keep maintaining it and think it's still a really valid and useful tool for red teams going forward. So this is just a quick Empire's deployed as 3 different stagers. The first one is a download cradle that calls back to the server. The server does a key negotiation with the client, and then you start your Empire agent that gives you your C2. So this session's all about Starkiller, which is our new GUI interface for Empire that we built. So it gives an intuitive GUI that's way easier to use than the command line. It's actually really slick. Vincent did a really good job putting it together. The other big advantage is the multi-user support that allows multiple people to be operating off of one server, as well as see what's going on by the other operators, as well as give an admin or like a team lead user management and live reporting on what their operators are doing, which is one of the on-the-fly reporting benefits. And then it just has simplified workflows like pre-populated settings, like it saves your stagers to make them easily reusable rather than having to generate them each time you want them, and a couple of other advantages that just make your workflows much easier. And then I'm going to pass it over to Vincent to go ahead and do some live demo work for you guys. Vincent, we can't hear you if you were speaking.
There we go. Had the microphone off. So this is the screen that you're going to land on when you first open Starkiller and log in. And this is the listeners page. And naturally, that's the one that you start with because that's the first thing you do when you're starting an engagement with Empire. So let's go ahead and create a listener. So I'm going to click the create listener button and we get this pop-up window, and we're going to do a HTTP listener today. And as soon as you select HTTP listener, you get a form with all of the different fields that you can set for an HTTP listener. And so we're going to go ahead and create this one on port 84, and we're going to keep all the other settings the same. There's also an optional drop down here, which gives you additional properties, but we're going to leave all those as the defaults. Click submit. And we've now created a listener on our Empire instance. And the next step is to create a stager. So we go to the Stagers tab. We get a familiar looking table. There's no data yet, but let's go ahead and populate that. So we are going to do a multi-launcher stager, and we're going to generate it for the listener that we just created, HTTP1. And we have a similar looking form here with our required fields, and then we can pop open for the optional fields. And from here, you can do AMSI bypasses and obfuscate commands. And we actually just did a webinar a few weeks back all about AMSI bypasses. So Hubble, did you want to jump in and maybe talk a little bit about those options?
Yeah, so these options, right now we have two pre-built AMSI bypass is in here. The first one is the kind of the traditional Matt Graber one that's been around for a long time. The AMSI bypass 2 is a bypass that I wrote based off of Tal Lieberman's work that he published at Black Hat. It's very similar to the Rasta mouse bypass as well, but I wrote the code based off of the Tal Lieberman one, and it's about 15 lines shorter than the Rasta mouse one, so it's just a little more compact, which is why I put it in there. Obfuscate tells it whether or not you want the code obfuscated. And then when you set that to true, the obfuscate command is ran, and that's how you set all of your options for invoke obfuscation. And that is, if you want to use that tool outside of Empire to figure out what all the available options are, that we suggest doing that, but everything can be used. You just have to comma separate each of your options. Okay. And then it's, yeah. And then we'll go ahead and move on from here.
So we're going to go ahead and create that stager. And once it's created, it's going to show up in this table.
Or actually, hold on one second. There's a few questions I want to address real quick. Gabriel, you can change your launcher in the listener. It's one of the optional fields in the dropdown, and you can just set however you want to be launched in there, and it'll tack it on to your code. Derek, the HTTP module is still the code, or your traffic is still encrypted in the sense that it's RC4 encrypted for Empire, the servers, and so they just see the RC4 encryption stream, but like they can see the data that's going across there. The HTTPS listener will also add your TLS encryption on top of that when you have a valid certificate in there. You can it also has self-signed certificates, but in an engagement you don't really want to use self-signed certificates. And go ahead now, Vince.
Okay. So once you've generated a stager, you have a couple operations you can do over here. One is to delete the stager, and the other one is to copy it to your clipboard. Once you've done that, you can then send it over to your target, however you decide to do that. Now, the other type of we have a lot of stagers here, but I'm basically splitting it in two different types. We have those one-liners that you can copy to your clipboard, and then we have files. So if I do a OS X application stager, this is going to be targeting a Mac machine, and we're going to do the same listener here. And we have all of our options, and we're going to leave those as the defaults. Click submit. And we've now created a stager here for a Mac agent, and the green button over here will allow us to download the file to our computer. So the next thing that I'm going to talk about, the next page, is the modules page. And the modules page is essentially giving you an overview list of all of the modules that you currently have available to you in your Empire instance. And from here, you can use the search box to search for a specific module or to filter it down by the language that it's targeting. And there's also sorting that you can do on the table. And when we expand a module, we get all the details that are outlined within Empire for it. So for example, I searched for the Get Swifty, which is a Trollsploit module that will play a version of Rick and Morty's Get Swifty video while maxing out their computer volume. And usually the comments for the modules will have a link back to the source for that module. So we can also, again, search by language. We can get a list of all of our Python modules, or if we wanted to search by the operating system that we're targeting. Now, this page is currently read-only. It's really just a detailed overview of all the modules. We are looking for feedback on what kinds of things that you'd want to be able to do from this page. So if you have any suggested workflows or feature requests, the Starkiller repository is linked in the chat, and we look forward to getting some feedback on that. And so for now, to execute a module, you do that from the agents page. So we're going to talk about that one next. So this is the agents tab. And again, you have a familiar table view of all of your agents. And the red agents are stale. And so that means that they haven't checked in a certain amount of time. So we're not actually going to be able to interact with those ones. But we do have 2 here that are available to interact with. And then just a side note, these timestamps are pretty messed up because of a bug in Empire that's been there forever. So we do need to correct that. We have an issue open for that in Empire. Let's go ahead and open up one of these agents. This is the default view when you open up an agent. The first half, the top half of the view has some different tabs. And then the bottom half is a window of all of the task executions. So first off, on this view page, you can rename an agent, and then you can view some details about it, whether it's high integrity, the host name for it. And you can actually see right now that Hubble and Coin are launching they're interacting with this agent as I'm talking. So this is kind of our overarching goal with Starkiller, is to make Empire more collaborative, so we can have an entire team interacting with different agents all at once. So if we switch over to this interact page, this allows you to launch shell commands against your agent. So these aren't Empire commands, they're just shell commands. So if I launch like PS, we should see, oh, looks like somebody else just did it. But we'll see, we should see results come back for mine as well. And there it is. Or I can do, can echo a command, and we see the results come back pretty quick. And then the other thing you can do here is you can execute modules from this page. So if I search for example Mimikatz, we can do Mimikatz logon passwords, and you can also from here you can expand and view all of the comments, descriptions, and stuff about those modules as well. So let's go ahead and launch that. And then this one actually takes a little bit to run.
So Vinibod, this may not be a admin one, so you won't get a callback on this. You may want to try the other agent.
Okay. Want to see that? Okay, yeah, so this one, high integrity 0, so it's not an admin. So let's go ahead and try launching that on this other one. Is this the same one? Nope, okay. Okay, so now we're gonna launch the Mimikatz module on this one. And there's the request going out. And we should see, okay, the job started, and then so it's going to get updates, and then there's the results of Mimikatz. And then before we move on, just from the screen, you can clear queued tasks, and you can also kill agents from here. The queued task is really for when you're executing a module, you're really submitting a request to a queue, and then those agents are pulling those tasks off the queue. So if you have an agent that, for example, is set to be within certain working hours, and you've queued up a bunch of modules, those are basically sitting there in a queue. And if you don't want to execute those anymore, you can click the clear queued tasks and they won't run. They'll be deleted so that the agent doesn't pull those down. But since we ran that mimikatz command, we can now go to this credentials view. And this credentials view is essentially all of the credentials that mimikatz grabs from those agents are going to be dumped into this view. And then Coin, did you want to talk a little bit more about this page and other uses for it?
Yeah. So so after you run mimikatz or another module, all your credentials will get dropped in here. So depending if you're running Active Directory or if you have other users logged in, you'll get a list of hashes and plain text passwords from those modules. One of the features that we're looking to add into here is maybe being able to copy and paste in and out of this, because right now it's just display only. It's being pulled from the SQL database in the background. So obviously open to any suggestions to make things a lot easier when using the credentials page.
Okay, and then that brings us now to the reporting tab. And this tab is an overview of all of the tasks going on throughout your engagement. So the nice thing here with the multi-user functionality is not only are we getting an overview of what tasks were ran and on which agent, but we're also seeing which of our red teamers actually executed those commands. So for example, here's the mimikatz command that I ran. And if we scroll down further, we can see Hubble ran a who am I command on this agent. And Hubble, did you want to talk a little bit more about like why this page is useful for red team engagement?
Yeah, so this is part of our effort to, we're going to be looking at making future upgrades and stuff to enable red teams to just have better management and task tracking and that kind of stuff. So like if you're the red team team lead, this gives you the ability to like on the fly see where your red teamers are operating, what commands they're running, and if someone's running into issues, you have a quick and easy way to go look at what was ran and what came back directly to help them troubleshoot their issues. So this is just kind of really useful for on-the-fly monitoring of your operators and seeing where everyone is and what's going on. You know, you can see if someone thinks they're on one agent but not another one because of everyone's users being tagged, and it's a clean way of keeping track of everything. Okay, and then that kind of relates now to the user management page, and so this is where we can create new users, and if you are the admin kind of running the engagement, you're able to switch users on and off. I am not an admin, so you can see that I'm going to be blocked from doing that. Right now, the multi-user functionality, there's not really much difference between an admin user and a regular user, except that the admin user can switch people on and off. But we are thinking about adding some more abilities for an admin user, such as like segmenting agents off to specific users and maybe the ability to control whitelist and blacklist from the Starkiller interface. We are interested again in feedback on how you think you might be needing to use Starkiller. Okay, and then Vincent, we're going to pause and just ask a couple of questions.
Okay.
Or answer a couple questions real quick. So yeah, it looks like Anthony just posted a message to you, Troy, but at the moment you can't export the reporting data from Starkiller, but the Empire CLI has a command built in to export it from the server at the end of the engagement. And then I saw a question about...
And this is the same, and these are what you see in the Starkiller interface is the exact same data that you'll see in the master log when you do that export.
Right. And then I saw a question about Defender, and no, the most recent version is already caught by Defender by default. There's our obfuscation course that we taught 2 weeks ago. If you go look at that, the techniques we described in there will still work, and you can it's not too difficult to obfuscate to get past Defender still, but we're popular enough now at this point that when we are publishing updates, it seems that the Microsoft team is tracking our project, so it's usually only a day or two after we publish that Defender publishes new signatures that catch the default payloads that we have. So we're no longer going to try and make sure, we're no longer going to try and maintain that the default payloads get past Defender, because it's just, we won't be able to do it anymore because they're being, it seems that the Microsoft team is just kind of now monitoring our publishes, and so it only takes a day or two for our signatures to be updated. So we won't be able to maintain default payloads being able to bypass Defender.
Was that all the questions?
I believe so.
Okay. And I mean, that's pretty much the last page as far as features go. The last thing is the settings tab, which allows a user to update their password. And if they needed their Empire API token, they have access to that as well. But that pretty much concludes the overview of what you can do with Starkiller at the moment. Last but not least, we take feature requests, bug tickets, pull requests. Feedback is appreciated. Send us an email. Thank you. And I guess we'll just open it up to a Q&A here at the end.
Jorge, you should be able to that. There is a pivot agent inside of Empire now. I have not tested it in the last couple of weeks, so there might be some updates to Defender stuff that we need to look at. But you should be able to use it for a beachhead currently. It's something I want to look at more because it's supported, but it's not the most robust beachhead functionality. It's something I do want to work on improving.
And Hubble to pile on, yeah, I tested it about 2 weeks ago when we're doing the OneDrive stuff, and it was working and functioning correctly. It's just a little bit of a pain with the current implementation.
And then JA, you can add in your own modules. There's I believe the wiki has information on how to do that, but it's fairly straightforward. You just drop it, as long as the module follows the template, you just drop it into the correct folder in the Empire code base on your local machine, and Empire should automatically ingest it.
And on that as well, once you've added a module into your own Empire instance, it's going to automatically, as long as you integrated it the way you're supposed to, when Starkiller will interact with it just like it does every other module. The fields will work properly. It'll validate required fields, and it'll show up in that modules list.
Yeah, we've talked about that, about adding multi-listener support for the agents. It's something that I'd like to do eventually. We've got a couple of competing priorities right now in terms of upgrades we want to make. So like we're looking into adding some more C# functionality and that kind of stuff, as well as potentially multi-listener support or other egress capabilities. So if you guys have feedback that you'd like to provide us on what you think would be most useful for engagements and stuff, we're open to that, and you can open a ticket for a feature request on our GitHub. Gabriel, are you talking about the Empire system commands or the we intend to just keep Starkiller as a post-exploitation web platform for Empire currently, Gabriel. Alberto, so you asked You said you have malware that evades Windows Defender, but to inject the Empire stage and use Starkiller, is it possible from Starkiller? I'm not sure what you mean by that question, but any agents that call back to the Empire server will automatically be populated in Starkiller, even if it wasn't a stager that was necessarily generated from your Starkiller platform.
Yeah, so Starkiller is all the things that you're doing within Starkiller are actually being executed from Empire. It's just using the REST API that Empire provides to display that data in a nice way and make it easy to interact with Empire.
And then, yeah, oh, and we are now supported into the SANS has a 2-day red team course that the Empire is now a part of. And the course, actually Jorge's on, I believe. He's the instructor for that course, or the author rather, and they're doing some really great work too. The course is really cool.
Do you have a link to that course?
I do. Let me grab it real quick, and I will drop it in. Here's a link to the adversary emulation course that I recommend. Yeah, there's quite a few questions on future capabilities. So SMB listeners, again, that's something that's like on my roadmap, but we're looking at all the competing priorities that we have right now. So if there's a feature that you want, the best way to get us to prioritize it would be to open tickets on Empire and for people to comment about what they want, so that we know what the community is looking for, rather than trying to do it trying to figure it out as we go. Do one of you guys have the link for the?
Yeah, I just posted that link.
Okay, cool.
So the link that we posted is that's the previous webinar that we mentioned from a few weeks back that talks about AMSI bypasses and Windows Defender.
Yeah, it has also a large section on code obfuscation for bypassing like AV and Defender.
I think we'll probably wait maybe one more minute for questions, and if no more come through, we'll end it there.
Yes, we were just asked if we have any plans for future webinars or training. And that is, we definitely have plans for that. We are working on developing some new training that we are going to look into putting out at a later date. But it's currently all in development, so we'll just follow us on Twitter. That's where we post all of our updates on that kind of stuff. And then we're also working on updating our website. They'll also have announcements on when we're going to be teaching webinars and that kind of stuff.
Well, before we finish and wrap up, I just want to reiterate again, thanks for everybody coming. Pull requests and feature requests are really what keep this project moving forward. We really want to make sure that we're meeting the needs of what red teams and pen testers are looking for. So if you have any requests or any suggestions, please feel free to open an issue so that way we can work towards those things. Because at the moment, it's what we think is right, and it may not be what everybody else is looking for. So.
All right. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Thanks for joining us on Saturday morning, and have a good one.